All right, so Birds of Prey. It's kind of yeah, man. Very entertaining. Paul, I gotta know what. I just like start with you. What'd you think?
Hey, you put me on the spot early?
Absolutely.
Well, as a youth, I grew up kind of with the DC world, so I'm a big fan. For me, just off Birds of Prey, another disappointing DC output.
Ooh.
Another fail. I'm starting to give up on the whole DC franchise. Just really disappointed. As far as my just initial take on the movie, I walked out of the movie very disappointed. I felt like it was a far-reaching movie about women empowerment that failed the women actresses and also the viewers. And I thought it was just a terrible story about a bunch of women who are trying to be empowered, but they're just kind of irresponsible, senseless, and they just create damage and destruction everywhere they go. And we're supposed to celebrate that as far as women empowerment in the movie. And I just thought they failed. That's just my quick little thing, and get into a little bit more later, but I'll pass the mic. Lindsay, what did you think?
I have to agree. A lot of the previews that I saw, I wasn't geared up for the movie, but I tried to go into it with an open mind, you know? And I would say actually the first 7 minutes, I was actually pretty pumped. I was like, oh, this is actually gonna be a pretty good movie. And then it just kind of spiraled downhill from there. You know, there was a couple cool scenes throughout the movie. I don't know, I had a hard time taking the females real seriously. You know, some of the, you know, points that they hit on as far as what women kind of emotionally go through after a breakup, I think were pretty on point.
Yeah.
But I think it was kind of a little far-fetched, I guess I would say. And the only actress out of that whole movie that I really enjoyed was the Huntress.
Really?
Yeah. So it was kind of a fail for me. I really you kind of have all these women that are crazy, outlandish, having all their reactions to things that happen. I thought that it was kind of almost the epitome of a catty woman in a sense. It was like a bunch of women that treat each other like crap, and then in the end they come together and try to band up together to un-F the chaos that they created. So that was just kind of my twist on it. And then you look at all the guys in the movie, they were just a bunch of piles of crap. So well, I don't know, I guess that was just kind of my first overall take of the movie.
Well, first of all, I was happy to see Rosie Perez. Okay, that got me hyped. As for Dave Montoya, I thought that was dope to see old Rosie back in it, because I haven't seen her in ages in anything. So I go back to the days when I was a kid. The White Man Can't Jump. That's my earliest memories of Rosie Perez. Right. So I love Rosie Perez. But I get what you're saying, with the Huntress. I did like her character as well. She was awkward as shit.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, because she grew up around a bunch of assassins, right? That's all she knew. So she was socially awkward, and they played that very well. Because she was super fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about her. But I guess my expectations were a little bit different than you guys, because I didn't hate it. Yeah. I was thoroughly entertained. Yeah. Now they did try to go with this Deadpool type of. I felt like the narration was kind of trying to be like Deadpool, similar to that regard.
Yeah.
Which I kind of appreciated, but sometimes it missed on the humor. It wasn't always as funny as I think they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Especially, I like the little girl in the movie that they say. You know. Her character was hilarious to me. She was cracking me the hell up. Every time, of course, she pops up and she's like, "What the fuck is going on?" You know, I know some people are awkward about that kind of stuff with kids cussing in movies. That shit makes me laugh. Yeah. Because I was a badass kid who cussed when adults weren't around. So imagine that.
Well, I liked it as well. There's a few things I didn't enjoy about it, but I kind of went into it knowing that it was gonna have some faults.
Yeah.
I went into it thinking it was going to be like Deadpool in the humor side of it, and I do think it fell really short on the writing and kind of just the plot in general. I just felt it was lacking a lot of there could have been a lot more dialogue during the fight scenes and just kind of that banter that you would expect from a rated R film.
Absolutely.
And so I thought it lacked there, but what I did like was the director's style of the film. You know, it's like kind of one of the first DC movies I've seen in a while that had color and just it was vibrant, and the edits were fast and fun. They weren't dark like previous ones that have been coming out.
Yeah, that's what I kind of noticed from that.
I really appreciated the use of color. I mean, just everything was bright. And Harley Quinn obviously is a bright colored person. I thought that was really well done. But in the long run, I thought the men were portrayed weak, and very few characters that I felt were really strong in there on that part.
Right.
But overall, I mean, when I walked out, is what I expected going in, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you could feel the build-up, like, were you talking about, like, the women's empowerment piece of it? You could feel that coming, right? Like, they introduce you to Black Canary, they introduce you to Huntress, they introduce you to Renee Montoya. Now, I, having not followed the comic books, didn't know that, that was an actual group to be formed, you know? But you could definitely feel that was coming along.
Oh, yeah.
And I appreciate it because they had, Harley Quinn, she was her same renegade self, but even, like, in the moment when it was necessary, like, she came with the group. Granted, it was very forced. It did feel very fucking forced.
Very.
But I still, I appreciate it for what it was. Like, I left there, like, entertained,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it wasn't like knock your socks off like some of these Marvel films were, but I was definitely entertained,
Yeah, I thought, after watching Suicide Squad and being introduced to Harley Quinn, I expected a lot more from the film.
Right.
Just because her character development in Suicide Squad was pretty much the only good part of that film.
Absolutely.
Just the backstory, just the build up, everything. She made in my opinion.
She did. No, she did.
Film. So I was expecting her to just dive into this one just as hard, and I think they fell short. Definitely.
Yeah, and then what did you think about the crime boss, Black Mask?
I think as
He's
an actor,
definitely
he killed it. Like I thought he did a really good role, and like his acting was good.
That's Ewan McGregor?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he did a damn good job.
Yeah, he was almost uncomfortable to watch it.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what,
Yes. Yes.
Which is a good sign. That's a good thing.
Because the whole premise of Black Mask is he's like a narcissist, right?
I think so. Yeah.
And then the Victor Zsasz, that guy's fucking crazy.
Yeah, he was a little weird.
Yeah, and like, I watched the Gotham series, and he was totally not like that, which I didn't like in this movie. He was
You
like some
didn't
crazy.
like it because he wasn't like that in the Gotham series?
No, well, he was. I felt like he was a lot better in the Gotham series.
Oh, okay.
And in the movie, he was just this crazy lunatic, carving people's faces off.
Okay.
That fucked me up. I was like, what the hell is this?
Well, I kind of like that build up.
No.
I thought that was interesting because he had a thing for masks, so it totally made sense. And
Yeah.
that you would
Absolutely.
make people's masks.
That makes
And I
sense.
actually thought that was really good character development.
Did you like the overall movie, Nick?
Yeah, I did like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't have huge expectations going in there.
Yeah.
I kind of expected it to be what it was, but I was definitely entertained. I really liked it. I never really I didn't grow up on the comic books, but I definitely grew up watching a lot of DC and the animated series and all that.
Right.
So I really I knew who Black Canary was and all that, and it was really nice to see them come into a movie like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just how you guys are saying, I felt like it was fault force for them to come together like that, which I could see, but I mean, I kind of expected something like that to happen. I was looking to go in there getting a little entertained.
What threw me off with the Black Canary is, you knew she was a songstress, she could sing very well and whatnot. We knew she could sing very high, but they didn't unleash her power, until the end.
Yeah.
Which part of that was kind of cool, but it was well, how the hell did Harley Quinn know about it?
Yeah.
They never gave us any inkling that she knew she was capable of doing that.
No,
Right.
yeah. I actually was surprised about that.
Yeah, that part kind of was like,
I think they did though, because in the club scene when she sang the glass
she
broke.
made the glasses
And then
break,
they were
but they
talking
never
about
saw
the
you never saw that
Right.
sound wave.
I think it was
come.
kind of like a little teaser there that was,
The build up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish if in that part, whenever she did the glass breaking, I wish they would have maybe cut a shot to her, and maybe she's kind of oh, I didn't know I had that in me, or something.
Right.
I don't know, because that part was awesome and everything, but it's still when she actually produced that sound wave and it laid all these dudes down.
Right.
I don't know if it killed them or what, but then I was like, oh shit, okay.
Right.
But Harley Quinn knew she could do that. I'm like,
Yeah.
where else in the film did she revealed that to like Harley Quinn.
But
She
it kind of,
actually-
I felt like they kind of already knew each other, like they didn't meet each other in the movie.
And maybe they did. I mean,
That's
as
where-
far as the
that's kinda
comics
what
go, maybe
yeah.
they didn't. But I don't know. Sometimes I guess.
You need to explain it though.
Yeah, I
People
mean, in a
don't
movie
know.
you can only put so much in there. So
Exactly.
Right.
They have to give it to an audience that has no background in it,
Absolutely.
which most of us really don't have a comic book background. So it'd be interesting to hear it from somebody who actually really followed that world.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. But from my little bit of comic book reading, I thought it was portrayed pretty well for the characters.
Absolutely. And I know we always harp a lot about and we were talking like about the DC, the difference between the DC and the Marvel, and it does feel like another. I think in terms of, I thought this was better for a DC film, for what they've done, you know. But overall, when you're comparing it to Marvel films, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
you know. I think that's where we get caught up. Most of our superhero movies we watch are the Marvel ones, and they're pretty stellar, you know.
Yeah.
So then these ones feel sometimes like they fall flat, and I went into it knowing that I don't typically. The DC ones just don't do much for me, and so I knew that going into this, so my expectations weren't very high, and then I was like, you know what, that actually exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, and you know, upon looking into it before going there, you know, I looked at what the director has done before, and she's pretty inexperienced on these feature-sized films, so she was new at directing, and then also the screenwriter had like maybe 4 major movies under her belt, so I think a lot of the film was very young filmmaking.
Absolutely.
You know, just lacking of experience in some form, and I think that's where a lot of where we went in thinking it's going to be kind of more of that writing like Deadpool, where every moment that they could put some sort of banter into it, they did, and it fell short, especially in the fight scenes.
Right.
But I would have to say the fight scenes, I think, were, as an editor looking at it, well done. I loved how it was just the music, the flow, and like how they blended the slow-mo and the pause, and then back to fast. I think it was pretty well done.
Yeah, and you know what else? What I liked about the fight scenes are, sometimes when I watch fight scenes, I'm one of those, like, I know they're superheroes and shit, but sometimes when they do things that are just completely, I'm like, that shit's not even realistic at all. But I like how they had these women, they were all badasses, but it wasn't like, I don't know how to say it, like, it wasn't like they were just over there, like, just overpowering and muscling dudes. They were using their speed. They were using their quickness. They were smart, you know what I'm saying? They seemed like a step ahead of the guys in terms of their moves. And it seemed more believable outside of, like, she punches one dude and he flies across the room and falls into another guy, you know, like super cartoony style. Does that make sense?
No,
See,
I agree with you.
I'll be honest,
Yeah.
I had a complete opposite feel of the fight scenes. I like the CGI in it. Like, you know, like in the scene where the fire spout came out and all the water was everywhere. Like all the water spraying up. I thought was super dope.
Right.
I guess for me, I mean, I kind of grew up as a tomboy, you know, hanging out with guys and stuff like that. It kind of drove me a little bit batty that Harley Quinn couldn't even swing a bat, if that kind of makes sense. I'm not trying to pick on them. I'm just saying, like, for myself as a female, I can understand from a guy's perspective. You're like, oh, hot chicks, you know, beating the crap out of people. But I thought it was, like, kind of BS, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't, to me, I'm like, it looked like a bunch of like little girls attempting to beat up men.
Yeah, I see what
but
you're
then
saying.
there was like a film director allowing it to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
No, that's-
It's just my personal opinion, you know what I mean?
I felt like this girl, like the Huntress, for example, she was trained by those assassins, like she knew martial arts. I was like,
she's the only one, like I said, she's the only one that I liked out of the whole.
I felt like, I felt like it was believable in that sense. Like if they were actually trained, like Harley Quinn, she's been in a lot of fights, she's a badass,
Yeah, she should be
whatever.
good.
I felt like, it was believable, you know.
Well, that's an interesting take because I mean that's kind of her weapon of choice was the
Right.
hammer,
That's what she's known for, yeah.
Right.
And I didn't notice that, but I guess I wasn't paying attention to how that was going. So I think that's a really interesting take on.
Well, because didn't in Suicide Squad she walked around with the spiked bat?
Yeah.
That was her.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about the CGI though, the dopest shit to me was the hyena. I love the hyena because I'm looking, I'm like, bro, is this hyena real? Bro? Is it an actual hyena, bro? Like, and I think Jeremiah was like, no, that's CGI.
I'm pretty sure that was CGI.
But I was like, man, I thought they did a damn good job.
No,
like that hyena looked.
It did look
legit.
really real.
Yeah.
It looked legit.
Yeah.
So I was digging that shit.
And I enjoyed his name. I thought
Yeah,
was a
Bruce.
good name.
Bruce is perfect. And what was her explanation for that? When she said, I mean, it was obviously owed to Batman, but she said something about this guy that.
Yeah,
I can't remember how she worded it, what she said, but it was definitely cool.
Yeah.
She had a hyena named Bruce, pet hyena.
Right.
Chilling in a bathtub. And when the little girl came in there, she goes, "Is that a hyena in a bathtub?" Yeah.
The one scene that I really did like was the roller skate.
When she was doing the actual roller derby?
Yeah. No. The whole scene with
she's
cars.
fucking them up?
Yeah.
Yes.
I really did enjoy that scene.
No, that was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say. Even that, I was like, that was cool because it showed her a little roller derby pass, in the beginning.
Right.
So we knew, she was very experienced on the roller skates and whatnot. And I dug it, man.
I thought they did a good job with the CGI and making that look really real, like it was.
Yeah, no, that looked pretty cool.
But I looked up. I know that they were actually trying to go. The director was trying to use a lot of the fight scenes from John Wick.
Okay.
For
Nice,
that
see that.
movie.
Right.
So I may get where they were going with it. You know what I mean? Like I said, the CGI and all that was super on point. I liked it.
I felt like this movie, when they came with their own original perspective, whether it's the fight scenes or just kind of the scenes, all that stuff, when they kind of didn't pick from what I call the Hollywood cookie cutter things, it was a great movie. I liked what you were saying, like when they're fighting, when she's rolling the roller skates and there's all these action scenes where she's fighting and defending gunshots and all this stuff on roller skates. That was totally original. I haven't really seen that in another movie. When they came with that kind of original version of what they wanted with their action scenes and action. I thought the movie was great. But I felt like it was like, oh, let's just rip off things from Deadpool. Let's just rip off things from John Wick. It just seemed like it was a cookie cutter movie. And it had a chance to really just blow up and be an amazing movie. But I felt like there's too many cliche storylines, cliche action scenes, and it's just too cookie cutter for me. That's why it was just hard for me
That makes sense.
to kind of get into the movie and go, this is awesome. Because the ratio of originality versus cookie cutter, the cookie cutter won.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Right.
But that didn't mean it wasn't an entertaining movie where I walked out like, oh, I'm not.
Yeah, I wasn't mad that I saw it. Or
that was a
anything.
terrible movie. It was
I enjoyed
entertaining, but it could have been so much more.
I think for myself, maybe I would have liked a little bit more of a connection to the movie, because there were certain things that I don't know if this was intentional, but Harley Quinn looked like she'd actually dropped about 15 pounds in that movie, which is so stereotypical with a breakup.
Yeah, she came up with
So
a
it wasn't bad, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That was actually, I was like, oh
Yeah.
dang, she looks like she's lost a bunch of weight, she looks unhappy, the whole
Yeah.
cutting off her hair scene,
Right,
pulling
yeah.
off her necklace, and then it's like,
Blowing
they
up.
did nail it. Yeah, to me, I'm
Just
like, that's
damn.
every girl's in her dream of the breakup is like, I'm gonna blow everything that motherfucker loves up. You know what I mean? So I was like, it was totally on point. I was like, oh, she's putting it out there, okay.
Vegging on the couch, eating a bunch of junk food, yeah. The cheese.
Cheese.
So all in all, you guys liked it?
I did like it. It was really entertaining for me. But with what you guys said about it, I agree. But I just wasn't going into it with that heart of feelings. I was just wanting to get entertained with it, seeing where they were going to go with it. And I thought they did a good job.
Right.
Yeah, again, I go into it, I was like, man, it's a DC movie.
Exactly.
They disappointed me over and over again. Like Batman versus Superman, Suicide Squad. I didn't like any of those movies, honestly. Like I was telling Jeremiah, Wonder Woman was the only other DC movie that I dug.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The rest of them I didn't really care for. And this one, I was entertained. I guess because I did go in there with kind of lower expectations, I was like, all right, let me check this out. And I left it, I was like, oh, I was entertained.
Yeah.
Yes, they forced some things, but overall, I was like, yeah, it was definitely worth watching. It was, action-packed. I wish it would have had, the jokes would have hit a little bit harder. The jokes, it just wasn't that funny. It had some funny moments, but they were few and far between.
See, and I think it was maybe geared to a different audience, like Zayden, my son. He absolutely loved it and he thought it was hilarious.
Of course.
Oh yeah,
So I
there
mean, for,
was parts that I was cracking the hell up.
Oh yeah, it was.
I just wish they would have been a little like Deadpool. There's action, you're laughing. There's action, you're laughing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. This would be like action, a little lag for a little bit, laughter, a little bit of action.
Right.
That was it for me, though.
Yeah.
What was the movie with, it was a kind of a cult classic from long ago, Alicia Silverstone was in the movie. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What are you talking about?
It was
Clueless.
Clueless?
Yeah.
I felt like this
that one.
movie was if Clueless and Zoolander, you put it in a blender and press high speed, blend it up and pour it out, you get Birds
I
of
haven't
Prey.
seen that.
You got Clueless and Zoolander.
In a blender, high
wow.
speed,
Blue Steel.
pour it out. Birds of Prey. It was just an action version of Clueless.
Hey, I didn't
Okay.
get that.
Yeah, I didn't
get
get
that.
If you're a
I'll second
13-year-old
your
boy or a
notion.
12-year-old girl, you're gonna love this movie. If you're an adult,
I was trying to have
it's
fun.
okay.
Okay. I liked it. It's what it's kind of what you said. I went there kind of ready to be disappointed in some forms.
Right.
But I also had the hopes that the humor and it being a rated R, and I think it's the second rated R DC
Yep.
movie. So I was hoping for definitely more, like I said earlier, a Deadpool feel to it. And I think they could have done that.
They could have.
For sure. But, again, I'm a DC follower. My favorite DC film probably is Shazam.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was a good
I
one.
like that one.
And so I liked a lot about the film, though. The one thing I really enjoyed is they finally got Gotham to be a little brighter. You know,
Yeah.
a little more colors in the
Yeah.
city. The people looked normal. It wasn't, the old Batmans, everybody in Gotham was dressed like with top hats and stuff. And
Yeah.
I never liked that. So I like how it felt like LA.
Right.
Where it was probably filmed, I'm guessing. And then just the color and the editing I enjoyed. I like the action sequences, but I was looking at it more with the CGI and just like
Right.
how they would put it with the music in the album, like the soundtrack, and I thought it was well done.
Yeah.
But at the end, I kind of walked off, not disappointed, but not blown away.
Right.
Right.
You know. But I did like the end credits, where we're
Did
all
you?
waiting there patiently
Yes,
for something
yeah.
exciting, and then there's just 3 words
Yeah.
spoken, no
Yeah.
image, nothing. I liked
Right.
it. That was priceless.
Yeah. Well, and then she come in. She said, "And for those of you still waiting," and then
But then, did they show a picture of her? I thought it was just
No.
over the credits.
It was
Just
yeah.
from the credits?
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you guys are still waiting?
This
is not
Yeah,
Marvel.
we are.
Yeah, they do that for DC.
The
Yeah.
joke's on us.
Yeah.
All right, for Barbara Paul, I'm going to give a 1 clipper out of 5 clippers. If I was a 13-year-old male or a 12-year-old girl, I'd love this film, but I'm a 42-year-old man, and I did not like this film.
I would give this 3 out of 5 clippers. It's pretty much right down the middle for me. I enjoyed it. I didn't feel like I got ripped off by going and watching it at the theater, but I also wasn't blown away like other films where you think about it for days afterwards. So I would give it 3 out of 5 clippers.
I would give the movie 2 out of 5 clippers. I wasn't thoroughly unentertained, but I did not thoroughly enjoy the movie either. There was a lot in it that I did not appreciate. So 2 out of 5 clippers.
I would give it a 3 out of 5, kind of with you. I definitely went in there with not the highest expectations of it being what a DC film should be, but it was definitely a DC film. So I was kind of expecting it to be like that. So 3 out of 5, but it was definitely entertaining. I'd see it again.
3 out of 5 clippers. I was entertained. Again, I went in there with the expectation that it probably wasn't going to be that good, and it exceeded those expectations. I laughed. I was entertained by the action, so 3 out of 5.
Real quick, we want to give, on behalf of the Flicks and Fades crew, a shout out to Broadway Metro. This movie that we just saw, Birds of Prey, is now showing at the Broadway Metro. Make sure you go check those guys out. And on behalf of Flicks and Fades, we'll see you on the next episode.